Why, he knows. 13 months ago, my husband found out I was cheating with one of his co-workers. It devastated him. He was angry and hurt. I felt shame and guilt. We talked about possibly ending the marriage. Then we found out he may be incarcerated. We are a young couple. He's 27, I'm 26. We have 2 beautiful sons together. After all was said and done, we decided to give our marriage a chance. I promised to turn things around, and so did he. He said it was going to be hard to forgive what I had done, but he was willing to try because he loved me. I agreed, and on we went. The first few months were great, until I started finding emails, Facebook messages, text messages from people he was talking to. On several occasions I asked him to stop. I tried to be understanding of how he felt. He never stopped talking and reaching out to these women. A week ago, I saw a text message on his phone from my best friend. In this text she said, "Please stop. I told you I don't want this anymore. It was a mistake." I confronted him and he told me he cheated with her. I was upset, but at the same time I knew it was coming. I find myself wondering what I should be feeling. We have a history. Over the years I've gone from trusting him blindly to playing detective, and now I just expect to find out things he's hiding. I am torn between wanting to leave or staying and give him a chance to change. This is something I have come to expect from him. There is history. This wasn't his first affair. After he found out about my affair, I told him everything. I gave him my cell phone, all my accounts' passwords. I would call before I left work, while on my way home. I have been on the other side before. I actually had stopped talking to her about 18 months ago, by my husband's suggestion. She emailed me and said, "Did you think I was the only one of your friends he's sleeping with? I want to give our marriage a chance, and I thought the last year had been the chance to take care of what went wrong when I had the affair. But with this new revelation, I am not sure what to do. I can't trust him, and I don't know if I will ever be able to again. We have been going to therapy for the past few months, but it doesn't seem to be helping. Every time I try to talk to him about how I feel, he gets defensive and angry. He tells me that I am overreacting, and that he hasn't done anything wrong. But I know that's not true. I have been feeling so alone lately, and I don't know who to turn to. My friends and family have all told me to leave him, but I just can't bring myself to do it. I love him, and I don't want to break up our family. But at the same time, I can't keep living like this. The constant fear and worry that he is going to cheat again is eating away at me. I tried to talk to him again last night, and things just got worse. He told me that he doesn't love me anymore, and that he wants a divorce. I was shocked and devastated. I thought we had been working on our marriage, but it seems like he was just going through the motions. Now I am left to pick up the pieces of my shattered life. I never thought that my marriage would end like this, and I am not sure how to move on. But I know that I need to put my children first and do what is best for them. It's going to be a long and difficult road, but I know that I can get through it. And who knows, maybe someday I will find love and happiness again. My comment: this is why you don't start affairs. It just breaks the whole relationship apart. You play stupid games, you win stupid prize. The second half. Story 2. My separation from my 10 or 11 months ago. I typed up my story, but never took the time to post it. Although this is going to be long, it's a much shorter version of just the last few years of my marriage, and maybe if anyone thinks it's important, I'll post the longer version. Married 25 years this past July, together for 30 years. 2 daughters, 21 and 24. Never a good marriage. Should have left a long time ago. About 3 years ago, acting odd. Suspected him of having an affair. Asked him to leave. He did. Got a call 2 days later from a man who said my was having an affair with his other man confronted my and his my agreed to leave the alone. Apparently continued for a number of months anyway. They worked together, so it was strictly an emotional affair. Finally tells my she isn't leaving her for him. My begs to come home, says he'll go to MC, even calls around looking for MC and sets up appointments. I let him come home. We go to weekly MC, seems to recommit to the marriage, do a lot of work on the house, take a couple vacations. Not great, but fairly good for a number of months. Tells me one day he has never been happier. He wishes things had always been this good between us, but the past few months I had been feeling he was just going through the motions. At the end of a workday, I'd feel like I never knew who I was coming home to. Was he going to be in a good mood? Was he going to be happy? Was he going to be depressed? After a particularly bad weekend with him, I decided I had had enough. Felt like we had been to hell and back the previous year, and if he wasn't going to put more effort into the marriage and do the simple homework assignments the MC gave him, then it was time, at age 50, to move on to try to find some happiness. Told him I wanted a divorce, I couldn't do it anymore, and things moved fast after that. Agreed to do some work on the house and sell it and then go our separate ways. I started looking for a small place for myself. House sold before we even officially put it on the market, so less than 4 months after I told him I wanted a divorce, house was sold and we moved on to separate lives. About 16 months after we got back together following his affair. Found out 2 or 3 months later that my and the had started things up again about 2 weeks after we went our separate ways, and the word was that everyone was talking about it at work. Found out around the same time I did, and he put an end to things again. The O had actually been telling people that my H was paying too much attention to her and it was making her uncomfortable. But she never complained to any superiors, so most people just thought she was just trying to protect herself if they were caught again. H calls me devastated, asking if I kept him on my insurance because he really needs to see a therapist. It wasn't enough that he lost me, the house, our daughters, our dogs, the neighborhood and the old neighborhood friends, or that he had been sleeping on a futon in his brother's basement since our split. What finally seemed to put him over the edge was losing the O yet again. Over the months he would send me chatty text messages. I still love you, I miss you, I hope you find some happiness, etc. Tried to be decent, letting him come to visit the dogs on occasion, letting him come over Christmas Day so he could exchange gifts with the girls, while I made myself scare up in my bedroom. Lots of really bad days myself, but trying to be a strong woman for my daughters. Lose 30 pounds, down to 108 now, 104 at the lowest point. Fast forward a few months and I start hearing things from my daughters that their dad seems to be hiding something, that it's like he has a big secret. Finally found out what it was yesterday. D21 decides to go visit her grandma, H's mom. Grandma, not knowing it's a secret, tells D21 that H finally bought a house. Guess where? In the town that the O lives with her husband and kids. Apparently, they've started things up again, and must have decided that if they can't keep it a secret at work, then he'll just move to her area, quite a distance from where they work. How convenient. Now O can tell her H she is going shopping or going to hang out with a friend, and she can just head over to H's house, and they can finally, 3 years after things first started with them, have someone on one time by themselves. My dilemma right now is, do I contact her H to let him know, or do I just move on with my life and forget about them? I did confront my H about him buying a house in her town. He didn't deny it, but instead texted me saying, I suppose you feel it's your duty to tell her H, and said he just wanted me to be happy. Why couldn't I just want the same thing for him? We are not divorced yet. We live in Maryland and can't file until we have been separated a year. Did not get a legal separation agreement. I did finally hire a lawyer in July, who will file in early October. It turns out that because I have been at my job for many, many years and have great benefits, that I actually have to give H a minimum of $80,000 from my retirement plan in order to settle with him. We had divvied up our other accounts, the proceeds from the sale of our house, the contents of our home, and our vehicles when we split back in October. H has been sitting on my settlement offer from my lawyer for nearly 5 weeks now, just stalling, while at the same time he has been texting me complaining about all the stresses in his life and how he is now on medication for high blood pressure. I was thinking to myself, what stresses does he have? Work, Gold's Gym, CrossFit, work, Gold's Gym, CrossFit. I guess the stress has been trying to hide his latest fling with the O at the same time he's looking for a house so he can be close to her. I've heard a lot of input over the past 36 hours, from family, friends, my daughters. D21 thinks I should call the O's H. Everyone else says, why? Why would you even consider it? He is out of your life. Good riddance. You don't want him back, so what purpose does it serve? I think her H deserves to know, and let the pieces fall where they may. The O has 3 sons. Oldest just went off to college. I think my H is expecting me to do something. I'm sure he has already warned her. Maybe he wants me to do something, hoping that the O's H will finally kick her to the curb. Who knows? O's H was kind of in denial about everything the first time. Even though he discovered the affair and told me about it, everything was my H's fault. My H took advantage of his wife. My H did this, my H did that. Nothing was his wife's fault. In fact, after he called me about the affair, I called his wife at work, and when he found out I had called her, he called me to basically threaten me and tell me to never contact her at work again. I didn't, not because his threat bothered me, but just because I had no desire to listen to the O again. Her response when I confronted her and said I didn't know why her H wanted to work things out with her was that she was hot, beautiful, and everyone wanted her. So, my H and the O are apparently made for each other. So, why do I care, and where do I go from here? Advice. P.S. As I was trying to figure out how to post this message, my H texted me to ask where I bought my living room sectional from. After what's gone on over the past 36 hours. Really, now he wants me to help him furnish his new house for the O. I did not respond. I guess I should add that although I strongly feel that I should contact the BS, I am afraid of my STBX's reaction. Although D24 is against me contacting the BS, she ultimately said I should do what I feel I need to do. Her concern and mine is that he will harm himself or perhaps me. He has been violent toward me in the past, although not for over 20 years. At that time, he attempted to strangle me, but then D24, at the time 4, walked in the room and he let me go. He previously attacked me when I was in the very early stages of my second pregnancy. I subsequently had a miscarriage. In the early days of our separation, I told him I was going to try to get a restraining order against him, and he then threatened to kill himself. Said he would lose his job, and then would have nothing left. He won that one and I did not get a restraining order. If he did harm himself, I don't think I could live with it. So, despite the fact that most everyone told me I should drop it and not call the O's husband, I made a few phone calls today. I had a few numbers from when their EO was first discovered nearly 3 years ago, but I didn't know what number belonged to which person. No answer at any of the numbers, but I received a couple calls back. The caller ID from the first call showed my H's name, apparently the landline number at his new home. But the person who called was the O. I wasn't expecting that and I played ignorant. The O said she was returning a call she received from my number but said perhaps it was a wrong number. I agreed it must have been misdialed call. Then I received a call from the O's H. Turns out my suspicions were true, and he already knew my H had bought a house in the town the O and her H live in. In fact, he told me he came back home 2 weeks ago after dropping their S off for his first year at college to find that the O had packed up and moved into the house my H bought. He doesn't think my H lives there yet. Perhaps my H is waiting for our divorce to be final. Who knows? The O is a long way away from a divorce since she has only been separated for 2 weeks, so I don't know what they plan in terms of living arrangements. If you can prove infidelity, then you can get a divorce in Maryland much quicker, but I don't think the O's H will go that route. He of course wants her back. Made a comment to me that she is already finding that things aren't going the way she planned, but he wouldn't explain what he meant. He asked me a lot of questions, looking for dirt he could use against my H, but was very guarded about what information he shared. I'm the one that asked for the divorce and I was the first to hire a lawyer and ask him to file as soon as he can, one day after we've officially lived apart for 1 year, so why does it hurt so bad? I guess there was a part of me that hoped he would get help with all his issues and then try to work things out with me. I stayed with him for 30 years because I loved him. I just didn't get what I needed from him in return. So, despite me knowing I did the right thing, the pain at times is unbearable and I wonder how I'm going to make it through. Just 3 months ago he was still texting me telling me he missed me and just last week still texting me about all the stress he's under. If the O is back in his life, what is he complaining to me for? Maybe the stress is him wondering whether the O's H is going to come after him. Been kind of floundering for the past couple days too, in more of a funk than I have been in a while, dealing with the sadness my daughters feel about their dad going down this road again. Angry that he ended a conversation with D21 in which she told him off by saying have a good life. Wondering why the H won't sign off on the financial settlement letter in which I have to pay him if he now has the O right where he wants her. My lawyer said he can still file 24 days to go without a response, but not sure what the delay is with my H. I guess it's just one more way for him to try to control me. I know too many people, unfortunately, go through this all the time, the whole separation and divorce thing. But it's so hard. Still can't wrap my head around how someone can so easily walk away from someone they were with for 30 years. Yeah, I know. I'm the one who decided to leave. I guess I wanted to believe him when he said he was going to do whatever it took to become a better man and father. In the long run I guess it was easier for him to just run after the O again, not caring once again that he is part of destroying another family. Hope I get out of this funk soon. At least I feel better than I did yesterday. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find any information on the house he bought, despite knowing the town and county. The O's H even told me the date the house was purchased, but there is nothing in my H's name on that date or within a month or so of that date. Searches of the phone number yield only an approximate location. Not to mention that as I try to claim his house, then he obviously will go the one I bought nearly a year ago, in a bad place the past few days. Well, I guess it has been a week or so, and it started with me finding out my STBXH had bought a house and let the married O move into it. STBXH not currently living there, still at his brother's 50 miles away, where he has been living since we split 11 months ago. Thought it would be easier by now. D21 texted me last night to tell me STBXH had finally texted her. He had ended their last text exchange a week ago by saying have a good life because he was mad that she doesn't support his relationship with the O. And STBXH started an E 3 years ago this month. Been off and on since then depending on how things were going in their marriages. Conversation between D21 and STBXH got me all riled up because he was trying to justify his relationship with O, telling her it's complicated, and bringing up me and the fact that I have had dinner, drinks with an old boyfriend, and asking how my relationship is different than his. Doesn't grasp the difference between me having dinner, drinks on occasion, beginning about 5 months post-separation, with an old friend, who is also soon to be divorced, versus him, 2 weeks after our separation, going after the same married woman he had an E with about 2 years previously. Can't get it all out of my head. Don't know why I care about whether the O is manipulating him again. Twice this woman started a relationship with STBXH and twice she broke it off to work on things with her H. Wish people weren't so evil. My sister knows of the O because they used to work at the same place my STBXH works, and she says based on what she knows of her, she is manipulative enough to convince him to buy a house in her town, with promises of a future together, 1 hour from where they work and 50 miles from his closest relative or friend just to try to prove another point to her H, who is still fighting to get her back. And my STBXH is stupid enough to believe they can really make their relationship work. And desperate to find someone. Told D24 at a wedding they attended in late May that he was so afraid he was going to be alone the rest of his life. Of course, I don't want their relationship to work. Not for myself, although it makes me sad, but for D21 and D24. They have both made it clear that while they will always love him and want him to be a part of their lives, their contact with him will be limited because of the O. Would they be happy if he had a relationship with someone other than a woman who is married with 3 kids, 2 still at home? Yes. But they can't forgive the O or STBXH for getting involved when they were both still married, 3 years ago and off and on since, and that they both apparently cared so little about how their actions would affect their kids. D21 and D24 have made it clear that if there is a family event for the holidays or something, that if O is with their dad, then they won't be there. STBXH is a passive-aggressive, never really close to his daughters, so D21 basically says he hasn't been a part of her life for 21 years, so she just tries not to think about her future without him in her life. D24 wears her emotions on her sleeve, angry and hurt, sad about the future relationship with her dad, sad that he is not a man she can respect, but also trying hard to maintain whatever limited relationship she can with him. But also afraid on the other hand that if things don't work out with the O that he will fall into a deep, dark place and try to kill himself. How do I stop thinking about a man that I have been with for 30 years? How do I stop letting his actions affect me? Why is this hitting me so hard 11 months after our separation and 15 months after I told him I wanted a divorce? I feel like I have taken 10 steps back the past couple weeks. So close, this Monday, to being able to file for divorce. I've been hanging in there for 15 months. Not doing great but getting by. Trying to put the past and the upcoming divorce totally behind me before I move forward. Once I made the decision that for my own sanity, I had to move on from my 30-year relationship, marriage to my STBXH, I moved fast. It was unbearable to be around him as we readied our home to sell and his indifference was killing me. At the beginning my focus was on finding another place to live. My STBXH refused to take our dogs, so I couldn't move in with family or friends for a while, nor could I rent a place. I made decisions on a new home based on what our 13-year-old lab could handle. Ended up moving out of the town I'd lived in for over 25 years, but not too far away that I can't still see family and old friends. I spent the first couple months busy with home improvement projects, hiring contractors and taking on small projects I'd never done before. There are so many things I would have done differently if I had slowed down a bit. Things I can't change now, so I realize there is no point on dwelling on them. My old lab is gone now, so I suppose I could back to my old hometown and closer to family, but it's not realistic financially. I feel like I'm on a roller coaster ride with my feelings, and lately I find myself obsessing over my STBXH. I did fairly well without my H for the first several months, trying to limit contact to issues related to our daughters and finances, determined that I could move forward without the guy I'd known since junior high and dated since our junior year in college. Up through the end of May I was still getting periodic "I miss you and I still love you" messages, which I did not respond to. Up until a little over 1 month ago, my H was texting me, telling me about his latest health woes, complaining about the stresses in his life. Not sure when my STBXH got back together with the O, someone who my H invited into our marriage over 3 years ago. As soon as he found out I knew about the O, all contact stopped. Haven't heard a word from him. I suppose she had been making promises to him and I was his plan B in case she didn't follow through. She finally followed through and left her H a little over a month ago. And so, my obsession began. Despite everything that happened in our marriage and everything that has happened in the past 3 years, there was still a part of me that hoped he'd figure things out and get some help and return to me a mentally healthier and happier man. I don't know how to get past this and stop obsessing. Thoughts of the O and what their relationship has done to my daughters and the O's sons are always on my mind. In just a little over a month I have gone from determined to move on to someone who just can't seem to take one step forward. And I know friends and family are tired of listening to me. I hear the same thing. Your marriage was toxic. Your STBXH made you miserable. You were so unhappy. You should be happy that it is almost over and he is out of your life. So, why don't I feel happy? Why the obsession? I can't stand the thought that the two of them are starting a life together and might actually be happy when they have hurt so many people. Why do seemingly small things throw me into such despair? I've posted my story on here before. Long story short, never had a great marriage, but we were together for nearly 30 years. 3 years ago, STBXH had an E with someone at work. Suspecting something was up, I asked him to leave our home. He did. About 4 months later, after she apparently decided to try to work things out with her H, my STBXH asks to come back home to work on our marriage. I let him, we try MC, but after 16 months I can't do it anymore, and I tell him I want a divorce. Things move quickly after that. House sold, most assets split. Court date coming up on January 22nd to try to agree on split of retirement accounts. After 15 months of separation, D should have been final by now, but he has ignored my settlement offer, wanting more. Shortly after we went our separate ways, he started things up again with the O. From what I heard, things are off and on with them over the next 10 months. Late August 2013, STBXH helps her pack up her stuff and move out of her home and into one STBXH bought in the town she, her H, and her kids live in. One of her sons moved with her, STBXH living elsewhere for the time being. What's bothering me today? STBXH agreed to let D21 use one of his vehicles while D21's car is in the shop. D21 was supposed to meet STBXH today at the auto shop. Because STBXH lets the O use his car, he agreed to let D21 use his truck and said he would drive his motorcycle for a few days. He said he would drive his truck to meet D21 with his motorcycle in the truck bed. Instead, he had O follow him to the body shop. D21 ignored the O, but this whole thing, minor as it seems, has thrown me for a loop. Does he not care what he does to his kids, even if they aren't children anymore? He knows our daughters want nothing to do with her, and honestly it hurts me to the core anytime I hear anything about that woman. I don't understand why. I wish I could forget him and her, but it's not so easy when you've been with someone for nearly 30 years. Just a few days prior to the episode at the body repair shop, D21 was exchanging texts with her dad, and her dad said, "June said hi." D21 was upset and told her dad she didn't care to hear anything about June. STBXH responded by saying have a good night, and ending the conversation. D21 shared that with me. D24 keeps most exchanges to herself unless she is disgusted with her dad about something he says or does. Then I hear about it. I do not on a day-to-day basis ask if they have talked with their dad. You are always so optimistic, Stretch. The D can't happen fast enough for me. STBXH, as I've probably previously said, first stalled till he knew June would leave her H for him, and now he is stalling cause the lawyer said the longer he stalls the more money he'll get from my retirement account. I also recently heard from D21 that when her dad gave her a $150 check for Christmas, he asked her to hold on off depositing the check for a few days till he got paid. D24 then told me he was complaining to her about money being tight cause he is paying $1,000 a month to stay at a friend's apartment while at the same time he is paying the mortgage on the house he bought for June to live in. D24 said she asked him why June isn't paying half the mortgage and he just shrugged. Meanwhile, he stopped contributing to D21's car insurance and cell phone bill because he said she is an adult now and should take care of herself. He had agreed to continue to split her bills till she graduates from college in May. But $100 a month is too much now that he supports June, a woman who probably earns as much as he does. So, the triggers are there whether I invite them or not. I long for the day when I don't think about STBXH and June. Unless June eventually goes back to her H, living in STBXH's house now for 4 months, she will be in my life in some form or another until whoever dies first. D21 is already talking about whether her dad will bring June to her graduation in May. Then there are possible weddings in the future, events with future grandkids. My comment: you can sit and think and rationalize all day long about what went wrong or what you could have done, but the best thing you can do is try to let it go and focus on you.